The biggest thing immediately that comes to my head is the relatability to your coach. So some people, the coach's job is not only to coach you to be a better pole vaulter, but his job is to connect with you in a way to where you feel comfortable and secure. So if he's able to do that, fantastic. That's how you're going to build a great coach-athlete relationship, and there's going to be that connection that you guys are going to have. There's going to be that trust.
Cool. We are here for episode 6 of the One More Jump podcast. We've got a special guest for you. I guess we say every guest is special nowadays, but we've got Chris Nilsen from University of South Dakota. He is currently a senior, just finishing up school at University of South Dakota. He is a 6-time NCAA All-American. He is a 3-time NCAA champion. He is a 2018 Texas Relays champ, a NCAA indoor national record holder with a jump of 5.93 in metric, which comes out to 19.5 and a half, I believe. And Chris has an all-time personal best of 5.95 in the pole vault, which is, I'm going to guess, about 19.6 and some change. Let's give it up, Jake, for Chris Nilsen.
Hey, baby. That's what I'm talking about, man. Thank you so much for coming on. You are outstanding. The first time I saw you, if nobody has ever seen this man, he is a monster.
Yes.
The first time I saw him, I think I was at one U.S. Championships, and I was like, is that Derek Miles' new guy? I was like, holy cow, he's freaking huge.
He's bigger than Derek Miles, which is tough.
His shoulders don't even fit on the screen over here, man. What the heck? I mean, no joke, man. How big are you?
First off, thanks for having me, but 6'5", 205 pounds, around there.
Gosh, dang,
Goodness.
man. Yeah, first time I saw you, I was like, dude, and you can run fast. It's pretty outstanding. So super pumped to have you on, man. You've always seemed like a cool cat, and you obviously have done some incredible things in high school, and then also now in college, and now I think everybody's kind of looking forward to your post-collegiate career. Hopefully that you're planning on doing that. I don't know that for sure. But first, just start off with like who you are, where you're from, kind of your little background story, if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah, of course. My name's Chris Nilsen. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I was born and raised there. And I went to high school at Park Hill High School. Didn't really know much about track and field at all because I was super into soccer when I was younger, and I wanted to do something in the spring season to kind of stay in shape for it. And I found track mainly because that was the only one that I thought would be easy in like the spring season sports. So I went to that, and the only coach I actually recognized out there was my 8th grade English teacher, and she was the pole vault coach. So I was like, yeah, I'll try that. And then the first 3 times I ever tried pole vaulting, like not first 3 jumps, but first 3 days of my pole vaulting experience, I got rejected pretty much every single time. Sent back on the runway. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but it was not going well.
It's a good start, man.
No, it was not. And I asked my coach, I was like, am I supposed to suck this bad? And she was like, no, but you'll get better. And I was like, okay, cool. And then eventually I started my junior year, I started going to a private coach. And I think by the end of my sophomore year, I jumped like 12.3. And then when I went into my junior year, within like 3 or 4 months, I jumped 17. And
what the heck? Hold on. Say that again.
Was that the biggest incremental that we've seen yet?
It was crazy, yeah. So I think when I started going, my club coach, his name was Rick Addig. He was a big-time coach over at Nebraska for a little bit, and then he moved on to Kansas, and that's where he coached Scott Huffman. in college. You guys.
Tons of great guys. Attic's like one of the legendary coaches.
Yeah. So he's coached a lot of really good guys. And I just remember, I think it was November when I started going to him in like right after my sophomore year, middle of my junior year. And then by May, like early May, I jumped 17. So about 5-6 months ish.
Oh,
That's
my
crazy,
gosh.
dude.
Well,
That is the craziest thing I've ever heard, I think, in pole vaulting.
Yeah,
so
that's
far.
insane. Well, like at, I guess the winder way of vaulting, we typically try to like win ready, get people on bigger poles, get them gripping higher, you know,
Right.
stiffer poles. Did that have a lot to do with it? Did you just get big enough and powerful enough and fast enough to grip on a 15-6 or 16-foot pole at the time? Like, take us through that.
It was a really weird thing because it was like middle of puberty.
Yep.
And I was kind of learning how to like use my body again because I had a weird growth spurt from freshman to sophomore year where I grew from like 5'6" to like 6'2". It was really weird.
Oh, wow.
It was a weird time, but I think like all freshman and sophomore year when I was jumping 10 and 12, I was only on like a 13-foot pole or something like that. And then I think exactly like you said, we would just incrementally, progressively go up in poles and pole size. And eventually, by the time I had jumped 17, even before that, I think when I was jumping 16 for the first time, I was on 5-meter poles, but they weren't like anything like huge. It was like maybe like a 5-meter, like 15 point something, like a 190 or a 195, right. But nothing like ridiculous. And I was like, fiber pole heading like right in the. There's a video on my Instagram of me jumping 17 like for the first time, and it was disgusting. So we're getting like whacked in the forehead by my own left hand. But
oh my gosh.
Eventually, after that, we kind of figured out how to pole vault, like how to plant and take off and control your speed and take off a little better, and just kind of fine tuning things here and there and learning how to run a little better because I was always like really quick footed and didn't really know how to drive out of the back or anything like that. But it was kind of like a mix of growing up physically and mentally, and also Rick being an absolute genius when it came to both the pole vault and physics, because he graduated like with a master's in biomechanics. So the dude is an actual like intellectual. He's ridiculously intelligent, and he knows how to like analyze everything a part of the vault in a mathematical way. So it's like, yeah, if you run like this and if you take off like this, there should be absolutely no problem. So at that point, it became a numbers game more than a mental game.
That's super cool because like I think about what he was staring at or what challenge he had in front of him. Like I've got this big athletic dude who has like a soccer athletic background, and he just vaulted 17 feet. Like, holy cow, this is pretty cool. I wonder was there any connection to Attic and Derek Miles? Like, how'd that transition go through, not to like cut your story short, but like from 17 to like, hey, South Dakota, like what's going on there?
It was the only connection that there was that when I did jump it my junior year state meet, one of my competitors, his older sister was a South Dakota athlete. So she called up Derek and she was like, you gotta hear about this guy. And she told him a little bit about me. And then she came up to me when I was in the stands with my parents, and she was like, hey, you should think about going to USD. Sorry. She was like, you should think about going to USD. And I was like, why? And she was like South Dakota, why? That sounds like terrible. She was like, oh, the coach is great and all this other things. And then my friend Dakota, who was the younger brother of my competitor, he was like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about going there too. And I was like, all right, cool. And then a few weeks down the line, the rules were different back then than they are now. Now I think coaches can kind of call athletes whenever they want, but there was like a specific time allotted to where coaches could contact athletes. I think it was like July 1st going into their senior year or something. And Derek was the third guy to call. And I had already knew who he was, and I like researched him and all these other things. And I had already kind of seen YouTube videos of pole vaulting, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool.
Right.
So we had a chat there for a little bit, and he just seemed super nice and relatable. And yeah, he was just like instant click of a coach and athlete. So I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like well, yeah, I want to go back in just a second, but just let me finish this thought. I feel like you and him are like, I don't know, you guys are kind of similar. Like you're both pretty tall, you both are, big guys. And I don't know, I just always like whenever I saw you and him together that first time jumping, I was like, man, that seems like a pretty good matchup right there. But going back to like when you were in high school, I was creeping admittedly on your Instagram last night. I was just because I'm not like the greatest, I don't remember names very well and things like that, so I just wanted to make sure that I had all your stats and everything correct and everything like that. And I saw that you and that guy Casey Lightfoot like have some sort of connection. What is that?
So he went to Lee Summit, I think just Lee Summit High School, and I went to Park Hill, and they're about 30 minutes apart. So every track meet we went to, we were together.
What? That's crazy.
And he's 2 years younger than me, so I've known him since he was like an eighth grader, kind of.
Wow.
Just because
did he jump in the same club as you, or
no, he jumped in. There were two main clubs in like the Missouri, Kansas area. There was Rick Attick's Extreme Athletics, and then there was Todd Cooper, and he had
yeah.
And Todd Cooper he went to Baylor, and I can't remember exactly what he jumped. I want to say he jumped like 1811 or 19 something, but he was a really good vaulter. But he held the other club, and Casey went to that one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because you guys did one of those clubs host that meet at the St. Louis Arch, or remember that there was like a street meet on the
I don't even know if Chris is so this sounds bad, but like you're fairly I wouldn't say new to the event, but if you started your sophomore junior-ish year in high school and then you're carrying on through your senior year in college, like you've only been in the heat of battle for 6-ish years, right? Am I wrong on that?
No,
so,
you'd be right.
So think about that. Like you didn't even, as a freshman or sophomore in high school, really know who Derek Miles was. So then now to think that, Jake, maybe he's not even familiar with that 1 or 2 years.
This is very strange for me. I am completely getting blown away right now. Like I'm still kind of processing this whole you coming up thing, from 12.3 to 17 feet in 1 year. This is I'm just kind of processing.
Or to 0 to 595 in 6 years. That's
this is a lot to process right now.
I think
Jake's having a hard time.
It's just the process of like, if you get with the right people, then I think it's just, if you get with the right people and then you put like forward 100% effort, it's just going to go well regardless of what you're doing. So if you're crap at math like me, and you get with a really, really good tutor, and then you're like, okay, I'm too old for this tutor, now I need to go into a more advanced tutor, and you get to a new tutor and they teach you more, it's like, okay, now I'm really good at math.
Isn't it crazy? How much of that is mental though? Like, I mean, it's so surrounding yourself with the right people, right? So physically, right. I mean, Rick Attick and Derek Miles, they know a heck of a lot about the pole vault, both for their pole vaulting and their coaching careers. It's like they're probably pole vault mathematical geniuses. But you talk about surrounding yourself with the right people. Did you feel like whenever you went to South Dakota and just throughout your pole vault career that you've had some people that were like mentally super impactful? Like, I'm so glad I have you in my corner, because if it wasn't for you, I'm not sure I could do this.
It was a weird thing. So I do exactly like you said. I do have those people that are like very mentally stable and help me stay stable. But at the same time, going back to when I was talking about Rick Attick being ridiculously analytic and mathematical and just practical about the pole vault, there was never a mention of mental. There was never any it was like running through wasn't even a possibility. And I had absolutely no idea what it was. until like my senior year of high school, because I had just never done it, and I had never really like known. I was like, I didn't know you could do that. And Attic was like, yeah, you can do that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And
just eliminate the problem. Don't even bring up the problem. That's awesome.
exactly. Well, he would always be like, if you are physically sound and you are healthy and you are running down the runway at a normal speed and you feel good physically, there should be absolutely no reason you should run through.
Wow.
And that just got beat into my head for 2.5 years straight. So when I got to my senior year of high school, freshman year of college, and for the rest of my college, it was like running through is not an option, because at some point in time, this is going to be my lifeline. So I can't. So there's no need for it, and there's no space for it. But I think that came from Rick being like, well, if you feel good, there's no reason to. It was always about numbers, and it was always about analyzing it in such a statistical way. It was just like, you don't run through.
That's what our dad always said. Be mechanical, not emotional. And
exactly.
That was so, I mean, from high school age, he'd say that it's a numbers game. It's getting the numbers on at the right place at the right time on the right pole. You know, obviously if you're on a third attempt jump and you got people clapping you down the runway, like, and you're out of energy, you know, maybe a little emotions bleed off into it, but at the end of the day, it's the numbers that talk, right? And that was
right.
huge.
And I always tell the athletes, I have a club that I own here in Chicagoland area, and I always tell my athletes that are having problems running through, whenever you're running down the runway and you sense that there's a problem, usually, like, if you just continue to work through it and move through it, it usually ends up being a super, super small problem. Like, but the problem is these kids, a lot of people, they think that their problems are huge, they're gigantic, but they're actually very, very minute things. Like, you might take off 3 inches under or 3 inches outside, but it feels like you're going to take off like 1.5 feet under, but it's just not reality, you know? So I think, weird. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, it's weird how people can take problems that, like exactly how you said, are so small, and they'll be like, this is a big thing. So
well,
you know, one thing, this is really random. I don't know if this is relevant to anybody, but there was, you know, have you ever had problems with winds, like wind? Yeah. Well, you're 6'5". What are you, 6'5", 205? You just blast right through that.
I did used to have them. Freshman year, I think it was outdoor NCAAs. It was just crap weather. It was raining, It was crosswind, and if it wasn't a crosswind, it was a headwind. There was no mention of a tailwind that day, and it was kind of getting to me. And Matt Ludwig, he just graduated from Akron. He pulled a funny on me. He barreled down the runway as hard and as fast as he could, and just cleared 60 by a mile. And I was like, what can you do? So
right. I did an experiment though. Whenever I was jumping, I was like, okay, I have an idea. I have an idea that this wind that's in my face is actually not as bad as what I think it is. So what I did was I took like shooting earplugs and I put it into my ears, and I was like, I think that it's the wind going past my ears that's causing me to think that this is like a 30-mile-an-hour headwind, when it's not. And I had an incredible practice right into a headwind. And I was like, okay, that proves to me that a lot of this is just mental, man. I mean, I tried all kinds of weird stuff, man. All kinds of weird stuff. So going back to you going to South Dakota. So you obviously, that was obviously a very good choice. You making that decision. What are the biggest things that went into that decision? Obviously one of them is Derek. But what are some other things that went into your decision? Because I think there's a lot of kids out there that are trying to make those decisions on what school they should go to. And I don't know, maybe you could offer them a little bit of advice.
Yeah, no, for sure. The biggest thing immediately that comes to my head is the relatability to your coach. So some people, the coach's job is not only to coach you to be a better pole vaulter, but his job is to connect with you in a way to where you feel comfortable and secure. So if he's able to do that, fantastic. That's how you're going to build a great coach-athlete relationship. And there's going to be that that connection that you guys are going to have. There's going to be that trust. And Derek kind of, in a way, he did what a lot of other coaches didn't. Every other coach put their stuff on the table, and this is what I got. And then he came and he was like, this is what I got, but here's this. And the here's this was his compassion and his trust for his athletes and the amount of knowledge that he has in the pole vault, mainly because he's done it for so long, both as an athlete and as a coach, that he kind of has his foot in all corners where a lot of coaches may not have that. Like Rick, he did vault in high school, but he wasn't on the professional circuit. He didn't go through traveling. He wasn't a collegiate vaulter. He was just a ridiculously smart person and knew a lot about the pole vault. But I think that a lot of the time there were some places. I think I went on a lot of visits, but South Dakota was the only one college visit that did not take me out to a party. There was no partying.
Wow.
So that was first one because I was like, I'm not drinking ever. Back when I was in high school, when I turned 21, different story. But
right.
When I got there, everybody was super nice, super dedicated to their craft, and they were ridiculously talkative. And that was really what I wanted. I wanted people to come up and talk to me and just like not even ask me about me, but like tell me about them so I could learn more about what USD was like. And Derek was one of the only coaches that kind of made me feel like not a number, more like an athlete. And he told me two things that sold me immediately. And I was like, I'm signing right now. One of them was, he said, at the end of the day, I don't care what you jump. If you're having a good time and you are learning, then that is all I care about. So at that point, I was like, that's a pretty good point. And then there was a time at the very end of my visit with South Dakota where I was sitting down with Lucky Huber, he's the head coach, and Derek. And Derek said, you can go anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, anywhere to become a better pole vaulter, but you will never find a coach who cares about you more than I do. And I was like, sold. I'm signing right now.
Wow. That's awesome.
I was like, true. You cannot put a price tag on that.
That's bold.
Nothing better.
That's bold, but you can see it from an outsider's perspective because Emily Grove, she goes there, right? Went there. What year is she? She's out?
Yeah, she graduated in 2017.
So that's the Jake and I have been out of the circuit for a little while. So this is our dusting off of
I got you.
Jake.
It's embarrassing, man. There's so many of you guys. You guys are all so good now.
It's true.
It's like I don't know what to do. There's so many people jumping so high that it's like
can't even keep track.
There's going to be like a fifth grader that jumps 550 someday. Like it's freaking crazy, man. Apologies,
Emily Grove, but she's in Illinois. She's an Illinois Flying Dragons gal. But basically I see her, I see you, I see this University of South Dakota kind of clique you guys have there. And it does seem like you guys are really tight, really well supported. Plus, if you dive back not even that far on YouTube, you see Derek Miles at University of South Dakota still vaulting at that indoor facility there. That's pretty cool to know that you've got somebody who, at the end of the day can still probably beat the majority of any of your competitors if he really wanted to, right?
Derek could pick up any pole right now and probably run down the runway and just kill it. Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind. This man has not lost any athletic ability over the last 4 or 5 years of his retirement.
That's insane.
That's awesome.
That's just like Hartwig. We just had Hartwig on, and Jeff Hartwig. He's vaulted, 19 feet a billion times, and it's like, and he did it into his 40s, and it's like, what is going on with these Earl Bell guys that have this longevity and this ability to pole vault? 20 years past what the normal stereotype expectation is, right?
Yeah,
it's wild. So I guess that's another good point that Josh brought up was, is there something to having a coach that has been where you want to go? Is there something to that? Like, did that go into your decision at all too? Like for me personally, like, it's like somebody telling you something to do, like, you need to do this. sometimes it holds a little bit more weight whenever they've been there. Go
Oh,
into your
absolutely.
decision?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like, are you going to trust are you going to take business advice from a person who has a master's in business administration, or are you going to take business advice from some dude on the street? Like,
Right.
while they both may be experienced in their own specific craft, the person who has the master's degree in it is going to have more knowledge, and they're going to be more practical about the whole thing. Derek has his PhD in vault, and
Yeah, right.
there's because he went through so many different types of it. He went through collegiate vaulting. He went through that kind of like awkward phase where he was between collegiate and professional. And then when he finally jumped 19 feet, then he started going on the professional circuit and doing all those things. And exactly like you said, he has been where I'd like to go. So not only can he provide insight, but he can kind of not micromanage, but he can be like, okay, this is the best I can do for you. This is the best advice I can offer. The rest is kind of on you. So whereas a lot of collegiate athletes coming out of college, that's the difference I feel between high school to college and college to pro, is that when you come out of high school, you have someone holding your hand. You have a collegiate coach, you have the faculty, you have the athletic department. When you come out of college, there's nobody holding your hand. Mm-hmm. You have an agent you can talk to sometimes. Right. And if you're sticking with your coach, then you can kind of talk to them. But if they haven't been through it, they're going to be like, I don't really know what to tell you. But Derek has been there for such a long time. He's not necessarily going to hold my hand, but he's going to be like, this is wrong. This is right. Make your own decision. It's your life.
I think that is invaluable, and I think that you should hold on to Derek as tightly as you can for as long as you can.
Yeah.
Because it honestly, like when I got out of college, my path through this thing was a little different, because my dad and I, we were kind of like, okay, I was the first one to get past that kind of threshold into elite vaulting of 550. That was right around where I was at, and we were just kind of, after college, we were taking shots in the dark, like, well, I'll just shoot an email to this guy and see if I can get in this meet, or I'll, I don't know, we were taking shots in the dark. So I think that is going to be an invaluable resource for you moving forward post-collegiately, pending, I'm assuming, are you planning on jumping post-collegiate?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Some people just are like, you know what? I'm done. See you later, man.
Absolutely.
Collegiate record holder, I'm done. No, but that will be an invaluable resource for you, because like Josh said, we just had Jeff Hartwig on, and I had it was like a mystery on how to go about this post-collegiate pole vaulting thing. And like I said, I was taking shots in the dark, and I didn't have anybody to be like, hey, how does this work? And so that's going to be really, really awesome for you. Speaking of, what are your plans? Like, how are you going to go about doing this?
It's a lot of weird stuff right now because of this whole
I was gonna
thing.
I guess tiny bit of backing up a tiny bit, just because I want to get a little bit of context going into it. Like, what some people might be listening to this months from now, years from now, hopefully, we don't know what's going on right now. Like, you got your season completely hacked off after a huge February, right?
Yeah.
I mean, take us through that.
It's so like, oh, what happens now? Because it's super unprecedented. So we get to
five, what was it?
593.
593. Yeah. At Nebraska, the meet right before our conference meet. And then we kind of heard talk about like this team or this conference is pulling out of NCAAs. And we were like, we're going to go anyway. So we get there, and I'm mid-interview right before the championships, like the day before the championships. And some dude comes in and says, it's done. And I'm like, what do you mean it's done? And he's like, we canceled it. It's canceled. And I'm like, all right. So I like stood up and I got my bag and I was like, okay, I guess we're leaving. And then we literally got a flight home the next day. And we were like, what do we do now? And the plan was to go into outdoor season, finish NCAAs, hopefully do something along the lines of those professional, quote unquote, post-collegiate things, kind of like get with somebody, and then go into the Olympic trials with that. But everything got canceled. So now it's just like nothing is available right now. So right now we just need to train, stay active, stay prepared.
Right.
And then when something comes along, you just kind of got to take it.
So whenever you heard that, so like, was some people, that's a common story now, obviously, seniors in high school, seniors in college, some people are taking this super, super hard. How have you
Yeah.
been doing with the whole thing?
I mean, another great thing I learned from Derek is you can't get upset over things you can't control. And I can't control the governing bodies, whether it be, the USOC or the NCAA or anybody canceling their seasons, because they're doing it for the betterment of the mass majority. So it's like, what can you do other than just be like, okay, got to do this. So I think it was, for lack of better terms, it was crappy. I got my last season taken away from me, and I got the ability to compete at my last year of NCAA championships taken away from me. But at the same time, it's like, do I really want to come back for a 5th year and do this whole rodeo all over again and have to redshirt my indoor season? And I was like, no, not really.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I think that's smart. I mean, it's not like you're, gonna be fighting to get, a high enough bar after college to be able to be admitted to these meets and things like that. If you had jumped lower, if you were right, like where I was, maybe like 550 or 560 or something, maybe that last season, but you've already won 3 national championships, man. Do you know how hard that is? Obviously you do, but that is freaking nuts. 3 national championships to be able to come, and I'm not going to say it's easy to jump high, outside of the national competitions. It's hard to jump high, but it is hard to come in as one of the front runners and perform on that day. It is so hard. I don't care how high you've jumped. I don't care if you've jumped 2 feet higher. I was a Division III athlete, and I had legitimately almost jumped 2 feet higher than everybody else in the field, and I still lost national championships. Like, all I had to do was make my opening bar, and I still lost, like 1 year, maybe 2 years. No, 1 year. But that is absolutely amazing that you can come in and you win 3 national championships. So props to you for that.
Thank you.
And how going into one of those national championships, mentally, what are you thinking? Are you more of a just bend it and send it, or are there specific things that Derek's like, hey, we got to do this, we got to grip this, we got to be on this, is it like that, or is it just let it all hang out?
It's kind of a mix. So where, as I said, Rick would say all the time, if you're feeling good physically, then there should be no issue. Eric was kind of the same way. He said, if you're running, 9.7 down the runway and you got a big size pole in your hand, there should be absolutely zero limit to what you can clear beyond, human normal physics and limits.
Right.
But we would go in, and I think the thing that would prepare me most for that was the security of the last 6 months. So say we were going into an indoor NCAAs, and that's in early March. I know for a fact over the last, from August to February, I've been so physically prepared for this that it's like, there's no reason I shouldn't jump high. Besides just like, fears and things like that come along. But at the same time, it's like, we can't go in and be like, oh, we were on this starting pole at this meet, we should do the same this meet. It's all about like, how does the natural progression or the natural flow of things go in a meet like this? And if you're at a meet with such high stakes as an NCAA championship, you're going to be surged with adrenaline, and you're going to want to go. So that kind of affects things here and there. But I don't know. It's a mix of like, we got to do this, but at the same time, it's like, whatever.
For sure. What does one do during COVID-19 quarantine, like to stay kind of, I guess, segueing into like the post-collegiate kind of taper weird time you're at right now in terms of like actual physical training? Are you you heading out to the track? Are you getting kicked out of public places? Do you have a weight room you're working out at? How's that whole journey working?
Well, all of the USD facilities, I'm sure like every other university, got shut down. So we can't use the outdoor track, can't use the indoor facility, can't We had this thing called the Annex. It's kind of like this, I don't want to say shack, but it's like a facility off the highway that we would use for little vault sessions here and there. But that got shut down as well. So we ended up just going, myself and a couple other athletes who are still here. We ended up going to the high school track, took a couple poles, and then we'll do pole runs and sprint workouts and things like that. And we have lifts coming from Derek, like he'll send us plyometrics and other sprint workouts and things to like stay aerobically sound. But then we have no place to vault. For lifting, we kind of just, I don't want to say stole, but we acquired some barbells and stuff and dumbbells and things like that. So we're kind of doing Olympic lifting here and there when we can. But I don't know.
You're
tough,
in a full on. Yeah. I mean, that's way more limited than I would expect.
Yeah.
And, you're one of the best, I'd want to say one of the best athletes in the world and one of the hardest events in the world. And it's like, you're trying to lift out of borrowed weights and pole runs on high school tracks. I think that's a pretty humbling thing, especially for people at like Jake's, club, who obviously they're shut down as well right now. But it's like, you guys got it really good when this thing opens back up, man. I mean, you've got a nice facility, nice runway, nice, weights you can use. Insane. I guess Jake, can Chris,
speaking of how high
vault
can you,
at your place?
Yeah, how high can you jump from 7 lefts?
I was gonna say
7 lefts.
Yeah,
probably 580, 85, somewhere around there.
I think.
Okay, I think you could jump 585 in our facility if you're ever in Chicagoland area. Come on through.
Make the trip down.
Yeah,
all right,
man.
Do it.
Yeah, that's offer is on the table. We'll figure out a way to do it. I don't care. I'll get arrested. I don't care. I don't care. I'll chain myself to the door.
Jeff Coover wants to come. Actually, that would be pretty cool, man. If you can tee up an opportunity to get Coover, Nilsen, a couple of these people who are on this podcast and just do a like 6 or 7 left competition. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, because we got 120 feet in our club right now. You're 6. You're huge. What's your 7 left approach? You could probably only do 6.
Like 114, something like that.
Is your 7?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's no problem. We got that, man. So what are you doing? Like, so have you contacted anybody? Are you going to sign with an agent? Are you going to go after shoe deals and do the whole shebang?
I've talked to a couple people. I won't name them, just
right, yeah.
Say for their privacy and things like that. But I've talked to a couple people, and a lot of them, most have told me like there's nothing right now. So
right,
it's all about like who will be available when. Things might start opening back up for that kind of thing in November. But right now, it's kind of just it's a waiting game. I think.
Right.
I think my friend told me that Adidas is something like $9 billion in debt. So obviously they're not going to be trying to sign anybody. Nike is kind of in a similar situation. They're not as bad in a situation, but they're not doing great. They're not doing so hot right now either. Rightfully so, but it's kind of just a waiting game. And if meets open up, then you go. But if they don't, then you don't. And you just kind of wait and see what happens.
Right. And I think for that whole like shoe contract, I could be wrong. I think for that whole shoe contract thing and getting into, big meets and things like that, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think you still kind of have to prove yourself a little bit post-collegiately.
No,
right?
Absolutely. It sucks to say, but it's not like I'm talking down on anybody, but every company, whether it's like Nike, Adidas, or anything smaller, is what have you done for me lately company. Mm-hmm. Because what their goal is at the end of the day is they want to make a profit. And if they can't make a profit off of you, or if they can make a profit better off of someone else, they're going to pick that other option. And they're not going to put any risk into someone when they don't have the opportunity of a benefit in the long run. So it doesn't matter if I'm jumping 595, 593 in college. If I come out and I'm jumping 540, it's like nobody cares.
Yeah.
You got to you got to be like, you can win a medal or nothing.
Something
Yeah, seriously.
Jeff Hartwig said was, Jake asked a really good question, and if you haven't listened to it, hop back to the Jeff Hartwig episode whenever it comes out. He said that would you rather have a vaulter that jumps 6 meters once at like a street vault on a Saturday in the summer or something, or somebody who vaults 570 pretty much every time he's up to bat? And Jeff said, not to ruin the spoiler alert, but he said the consistency, that the high level consistency at the right meets at the right time. And obviously you have that. I looked, pop back on Google and Wikipedia, and I'm like, holy cow, this dude is just a savage. He vaults, mid 18s or higher pretty much always on big stages and everything. And I'm excited to see that carry post collegiately. Do you have any plans, like immediate plans, as for like, let's say COVID or this quarantine or the stay at home kind of gets lifted? Do you have like I'd love to get in a meet late summer, early fall to get the wheels turning, anything like that?
Absolutely. Any meet that opens up, I'm going to go to, just because I'd like to get back on it. But it's like, I haven't vaulted in 2 months. So kind of got to get back on that track. I'm going down to Kansas City here pretty soon next week. So I can vault a couple times with Casey Lightfoot.
There you go.
See how that goes. But kind of try to get back on the wagon. But if a meet opens up in July, August, September, I'm going.
Yep.
Yeah. And USATF, I've already contacted them because like there's a lot of people. I'm actually getting texts right now like, are you going to have any meets? And when are you opening back up, and all these things? And they've said that they will sanction a meet this summer. I think it just has to be, like we live in Illinois, so our wonderful government in Illinois is taking a long time to open back up.
I think everybody
but once we do get going, I think that the USATF will sanction meets, and there will be opportunities. I just don't think there's going to be like that big Paris Diamond League or like any of these big giant spectator meets. I think it's going to be more like rinky dink, so and so's got to meet, we can only allow 20 people, so sign up quick, so I hope that we can get that stuff going.
I can't tell if there's going to be like 50, 100 people at these meets, 200 people at these meets, or like nothing. I mean, I'm signed up for some of these races. I've shifted to marathon running and trail running and such, and I'm like emailing these meet directors for these runs in July and August, and I'm like, how many people are going to be showing up? I mean, one guy told me that 400 out of 800 people dropped out or asked for their money back. And it's like, so you don't know if it's going to go the other way, if there's going to be a meet and somebody's going to host it. And it's like, it's summertime. Let's go out on a boat. We got to get you vaulting,
dude. We got to get you vaulting again. I mean, this podcast that we're doing right now, I'm just getting my mind blown left and right. We need to get you back.
It'd be 8 or 9 hour drive probably from where you're at in South Dakota to Jake's facility. I guess Jake's volunteering to offer up his basement couch to you as well. It's actually right behind that screen that you're staring at.
There's a big giant bed at the club. It's called the pole vault pit. No, I'm just joking.
It's probably the size of Chris's bed.
Anything that you ever need, just hit me up and we'll get you taken care of. But
absolutely, I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. So I guess in this downtime, what are some things that you would consider like a weakness that you could improve on?
I think now it's weird because when we're training, when I say we, I mean all athletes. I feel like when we're training, what we want to focus on is speed and strength. How can we improve speed but keep the stability to where we don't like lose stability when we're trying to? But if you're running 9.9 down the runway, you have to learn how to control it. Otherwise, the vault isn't going to work. Or if you're too strong, like if you're too big, you just have too much mass, and it's going to be hard to move all of that. And, physics take over, and so does gravity. So I think.
Hey, Chris, hold on one second. Whenever Chris says running 9.9 or 9.7 down the runway, he means 9.9 meters per second. So that's how fast he's running down the runway. Go ahead.
I'm not
Sorry.
running 9.9. I wish I'm running.
Yeah.
I think I've run 9, like high 9.7s, something like that, but nothing like.
That's ridiculous. That's still
like
really
Renault.
fast. Yeah, right.
But what's funny is that a lot of people tend to skip over plyos, and that's kind of what we've been focusing a lot on, because if you're doing plyos, you know, like standing long jump, standing triple jump, hurdle hops, stuck in the mud, things like that, those take a toll on your body like no other. So now when we're not expected to meet any expectations of a meet, or time management of a meet, we can kind of just do that, and we can kind of focus on that. So right now, Derek is actually pushing a lot of that. We're pushing a lot of plyos at least once or twice a week, so we can kind of get that. And the reason we're doing that is ground responsiveness. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I'm really bad at. I'm really bad because I'm kind of heavy footed. I'm not light on my feet. And if you can be really responsive off your steps, especially those last 6 steps when you're coming into the takeoff, when you're trying to build to max velocity, if you can have as little ground contact as possible and be super responsive and active off those last 2 steps, it's like you're carrying speed. So that's what we would be doing in a takeoff. Now let's work on it since we have time to do so. So I think in a long version of what I should have made really short, ground responsiveness is my weakness.
That's a huge thing that we, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, but we spent so much time on that in college. And granted, we, you know, at North Central, we've had some 18 footers and stuff, but nobody with the ability to grip the end of or close to the end of a 520 pole. I feel like possibly, you know, we could have had high 18s, 19 plus vaulters, but we always, one thing, if you look at our videos of all of the North Central guys, for the most part, we did a heck of a lot of plyometric stuff, a lot of really, you know, box awareness stuff. And we had pretty good last few strides of our approach, which usually resulted in, not to get too deep in the pole vault talk here, but a fairly outside takeoff. And I guess you're on such a big pole, gripping really high. One, I'm curious if you could take us through a couple of those numbers so that we can get an idea of like what your pole size is and grip, but also like where your takeoff mark is and kind of how important that piece is.
Yeah. Before I do that, going back, exactly like you said, whenever I watch videos of you guys vaulting or of Luke vaulting, the last like few steps, like I'm jealous because this guy comes in and he's super light. You guys are all super light on your feet and you guys are always taking off out, especially Luke. Whenever I saw him, was he at Reno this year or last year?
I think it was
this year.
I think I watched him take a couple of vaults and I just watched him like boom, 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 like super fast, super efficient. I was like, I wish, but
that's good though. He'll appreciate that.
You can do it. You can do it, Luke.
He's a lot. I'll say it. He's a lot more technically sound than I am, but for coming into the takeoff for sure. But for takeoff stuff, I think I've been on 520 since sophomore year of college, and I think my pole range will usually range somewhere from like a 13.5 anywhere to like an 11.9 is the biggest I've been on.
Wow. So that's like a 205 to 230 like range.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's huge.
And usually I'll start the meet out because Derek usually has this thing where whenever you go up a pole, you should also take an inch of grip. But where you start at the meet is kind of like how it's going through warm-ups. So usually I think I'll start the meet at like a 16.8 grip, something like that. And then I'll progressively move up to 17.1. I'm not super comfortable like completely capping just because I've had a couple situations where I was doing that and I like slipped off and I wasn't a super fan of that situation, but
I bet.
Yeah.
When it's like,
That's
okay,
insane.
you're down to your last pole and you're blowing through it, then it's like, okay, you kind of gotta nut up and you gotta cap it and go. So
goodness. So close to a 7. So I guess if you had a perfect day, right, you'd be going full approach on a gripping close to 17 feet, on a, you know, 11.9, 11.8, whatever it is, taken off at what, 14-ish?
13.9 to 14 is where we're going, is where
Okay.
we'd like to be.
Right.
I don't think I can handle an out takeoff just
Really?
because of how
You're
my
also really, really, I mean, you got a really tall takeoff angle. It's just like we talked about Grande. He was so big that he could take off
yeah
at 12 feet or 11.6, and it was like, that's on, or that's
You
not
got
too
a
far under.
you got a set of shoulders on you too. You can handle it, man.
So if you were to vault 6 meters, when you vault 6 meters, what do you think your numbers are going to be on that jump if you had to predict?
it's gonna be a toss of the coin, man. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. At 93, I think I jumped it on at 593 when I was in Nebraska. I jumped it. I think I was on a 520 12.1. I think I want to say it's like the pull right before that 11.9 jump.
Okay.
I was gripping 16.11, and my takeoff was, I think I was under actually. I think I took off at like 13.6. But I think it's, if I can get that kind of not out but towing off kind of thing where a pole hits the back of the box right when my toe is like just barely touching the ground.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Decent sized pole, decent grip. It'd have to be a pretty big pole. Like if you're jumping 6 meters, you're either gonna be really technically efficient, or you're gonna be fast and on a big pole. And I think I'm more on the spectrum of fast and on a big pole.
So
Sweet.
what about, so have you always jumped on Essex?
No, actually, no. I was what was it, junior year of high school through freshman year, through halfway through my freshman year of college. I was on the Black Carbon FX, and I loved them all the way up until Texas relays of my freshman year, where I snapped one in like 3 pieces, and I was like, that's not great. And then 5 days later in practice, I broke another one and smacked me in the back of my head. And Derek and I were like, we're done. We're not doing that. And mainly not because we had broken 2 poles, because we were like, okay, it's an inherent risk. It comes with the travel. It's going to happen. It's fine. And then we started hearing about people across the world doing it. Rafael Hodstepa, Alicia Newman, Pyotr Lisek, Pavel Wojciechowski, all these guys and other girls started breaking Carbon FX poles. So we were like, that's a problem. And Jeff Hartwig, exactly like you guys were talking about earlier, he was the one to tell me, he was like, it's not a good time right now. Like, we'll call you when we can come back and be like, okay, let's, revisit, but right now it's not a good time. So you're like, okay.
Right.
And Grande, he was the first guy we talked to because we wanted to stick on carbons because we didn't think it was a good idea to go from carbon to Spirit mid-season. So we
yeah, that's a sketchy one. I went from Carbon to Spirit, and that was hard. I mean, it can be done. People do it all the time, but
right.
it was tough because that carry weight, it may be a fraction of a pound, but it still was difficult, and that it's definitely noticeable. And when you're vaulting at a high level, that is even a little tiny minute change can really make a big difference. And then they're not as responsive as a carbon, especially those older black carbons were pretty responsive and things like that. So
yeah.
keep going, continue on.
I'm exactly like you said. Derek told me, he's like, yeah, you want to go to a Spirit? You want to put a 520 something, 12 point something in your hands? We can do that. I was like, I'm good. But we talked to Grande, and then he actually sent me his bag of poles, and I vaulted on those for a little bit. Actually, it was a funny thing because my PR before the whole Essex situation was 570, and then the first time ever actually, because we didn't practice on them, we kind of just brought him to a meet, and we were like, we need to jump, so we need to take these poles because we're not taking the carbons, they're going to break. So we went to this meet, and I PR'd, jumped 573. First time ever jumping on Essex, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna keep them.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we were vaulting on them for like a few meets, and it was weird because we were doing well, but it was the form had changed. So whenever I would go over a bar, no matter how good my takeoff was, how much head chest drive I got into the takeoff, my chest would die over the bar. So we were like, maybe this isn't working. And we ended up talking to Beto. He's one of the engineers over at Essex. And he was like, we'll kind of mess some things around. We'll change it up and see what we can do. And they made it actually pretty close in comparison to a Carbon FX pole. And that's the pole I jump on now. So it's kind of like a weird mixture of stuff in an Essex. And
so you got that custom. You got that custom made. Yeah, I was going to say,
it seems like Essex is willing to, for those people that qualify, the upper level elite guys, they're kind of making these special concoctions for people. I could be wrong, but I know that Sam Kenricks has like a tiny bit of a tweak on his poles, like whether it's, where the bend's at, or even the amount of like carbon and weight and mandrel size. Like, are they just willing to accommodate any of the elites? Like, how's that process work? Do you have any idea?
I think Essex, regardless of if you're elite or amateur, they're gonna try to help you reach your goals. So if you come to them and say, "Hey, I want to jump on Essex, I want to jump on a Carbon. You guys are the ones I trust the most. What can we do here?" Then they'll go back in and they'll be like, "Okay, well, we'll figure something out." And I just happened to get lucky enough to where they were willing to be so helpful, and it ended up working out the first time. So they came up with something and they were like, "Okay, how's this work?" And it worked perfectly. So there was no problem.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're a good company. I think they do a good job, and they, I mean, I know Gil used to help out elites too. I'm pretty sure that there were you could get some sort of the sale piece adjustment or something like that. Like back, I think a lot of pole companies do that, but it seems like Essex is doing a good job, making sure that their vaulters are taken care of. And
they're taking the market by storm for sure. You see yellow poles everywhere, man.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Chris, what kind of going into some hobbies, some different things, getting to know you a little bit more. Jake and I always try to say, like, when we do these podcasts, like, let's try to not get too detailed and granular into the pole vault talk. And it's like, man, we're always talking about meters per second. We're always talking flex points, like takeoff angles, all sorts of stuff. But let's get to know you a little bit. I'm curious, like, what do you do for fun? Like, tell me outside of polevaulting. I know you're like elite and you got to stay in this, 595 plus shape, but like, you love coffee, I think. Like,
yep.
What else? Tell me about it.
Coffee world. Mainly it started because I started working at a cafe in town, and my friend kind of introduced me to the whole coffee world and how big and complex it is. And I was like, "It's coffee, dude. Like, what are you getting so worked up about?" And he told me, like, there's literal competitions, world championships for who can pour the best latte art, like who can pour the coolest flower on top of a latte. I was like, that's dumb. And then I got into it, and I've been doing it ever since. But did that. There's roaster competitions, and there's like different types of coffee events that go across the country. I've been to so many of them.
Wow.
There's a bunch of stuff like Sioux City, Iowa, every year. They'll hold a Siouxland coffee fest, and I go to that every year. And there's a bunch of other things like across the country. And I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. And my roommates and I, because I'm moving in with some roommates here pretty soon, they're all super up on the coffee world as well. So we're kind of just learning how to do that kind of thing.
That's interesting, man. So I'm actually on a coffee break right now, because what happens with me is I have an extremely addictive personality. If it's coffee, it starts off with 1 cup, and then it moves to 2, and then before you know it, I'm like 600 milligrams of caffeine deep.
Yeah.
And like, just like I was like spazzing out on my, I'm spazzing out on my, not like freaking out crazy, but spazzing out a little bit on my daughters the other day, because they're screaming and we're in quarantine, and I was like, why am I so mad? And I was like,
because you drank a whole pot of coffee.
I drank 600 milligrams of coffee, or of caffeine, and so I am on a little bit of a break right now, but I do really, really love coffee too. I drink, I drink the Four Sigmatic coffee with the lion's mane mushroom in it. What are you drinking these days? Like if you were to your go-to, like you must have some sort of special machine.
You got the pour over and all that gooseneck little dealio.
See, I don't really have the money to go and just buy all these pour overs and things, but like honestly, if I can get my hands on a Guatemalan, like a medium roast Guatemalan with some different hints of different flavors in there, I don't care. I'll drink it. But my friend Cristobal, I'll kind of shout him out. He was the guy who got me into the whole coffee art thing back in the day, and he is super huge on the coffee world, and he'll do me a favor and he'll bring me back like a bag of guat or something like that, and he'll always be like, try this Ethiopian or try this Colombian. I'm like, okay, all right. And every single time I'm like, this is better than the last one, please bring me more, I'll pay you. I think he just gave me another bag of like Colombian, so I'm probably gonna end up trying that later. But
heck yeah.
I'm not like sitting in my apartment like, yeah, like, let's do this pour over thing. I'm like, let's use my French press or something.
Do you drink coffee? Like, I guess this is a little bit interesting because like I was a big like have to have cup of coffee on meet day because I always have a cup of coffee the morning of, and I don't want to change my routine. Do you swear by that? Are you like, I'm not going to let this affect me, I have to have 2 cups? Like, where do you kind of fall on that spectrum?
I could live with or without. It's not like I have to have it. I think that the competition juices will probably end up flowing at one point in time, regardless of caffeine or not. But if I have the chance to go and get some form of caffeine, whether it's a coffee, a Red Bull, or a caffeine pill, I'll take it.
Got it.
So I think it's like, I don't really need to sit here and like, some of my teammates have told me they drink a Bang and they're like, I want to feel the jitters. And I'm like, I'm trying to hold on to my pole,
we had a bad problem at my club with kids like coming in. This is actually a funny story. They would come in all the time with these. They'd stop by the gas station, they'd get the Bang Energies, they'd come in, they'd be slamming the Bang Energies. And
what in the world are Bang Energies?
You never heard of Bang Energy?
No. Red Bull times like 5 in one can.
What? I'm going to grab one of these at the local
No, I've messed around with them. It's not, I mean, it's what, for me, with an addictive personality, I'm putting down a couple Bangs, man. I'm putting down a couple Bangs. Okay, so here's the breakdown on Bangs. All right, I like nutrition. I kind of geek out on that. So
that's
it's
cool.
300 milligrams of caffeine which is per can, which is a good amount of caffeine. An average cup of coffee is like 90 to 100 milligrams of caffeine. And then it has, I think they call it like their super creatine. So it's got creatine in it, which I think is kind of cool. And then it also has, you can get 2 different kinds. You can get the branch chain amino acid one, the BCAAs one, or you can get the essential amino acid one, the EAAs. And I always get the essential amino acids because your body, they're more bioavailable. So when you're going to 7-Eleven and you're picking out your Bang, just spin it around, and on the top lid it'll have, and make sure you get the EAA one because you're going to be able to absorb those better. But anyway, we had this crazy problem at the club with these people bringing all kinds of pre-workouts, just dumping pre-workout into their cups, like, man, shaking it up
to do some straight pull swing through drills or something.
Yeah. And then there was a kid at our school, or at our club, who he was younger, and he snuck into somebody's thing, into their pre-workout, because he was like, man, these guys are doing it, they're in high school, blah blah blah. And he snuck in, and I got a text from his mom later on that night. It was like, hey, so what's going on with my son, because he's bouncing off the walls right now because somebody gave him a scoop of pre-workout. I was like,
Thanks.
What? So the next day at practice, I was like, listen, it's no more Bangs, it's no more pre-workouts, man. We're done.
I'm so intrigued by Bangs, man.
Try to just pole vault and go through a workout just your natural self, and you'll probably not be as much of a spaz. And it ended up working out. The kids were like, hey, guess what? I just had a really good workout and I didn't have a bang today. I was
Isn't
like,
that
yeah,
crazy?
check it out.
It's like someone who's addicted. They have like a problem. They're going through withdrawals.
Straight up, man. So does it affect you? Like, because there's some people that process caffeine super easily, like their body handles it very, very well. You're a big guy, so does your body kind of process caffeine really well, so to where it doesn't wig you out or anything?
I used to, because regardless of how involved I've been in the coffee world over the last couple of years, I've been drinking coffee since I was in middle school. It's because I liked it. So I used to get the jitters, and now it's kind of like I need to drink a good amount of caffeine now to get like any like super effect. Like it'll wake me up in the morning, but I'm not going to be here like shaking over it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Do you have any issues with sleep from it? Like at night, do you have issues falling asleep?
No, I will drink if I go to bed. If my normal bedtime right now is like midnight 30. I'll drink a coffee at like 11:30 for the taste.
Goodness, that's insane. I can do it 2-3 p.m. But if I'm creeping past that, Jake shuts it off.
Not
like
me, dude. You want to know when I shut it off? Well, right now I'm on nothing because I was about to burn my house down because I was so mad and so irritable. So anyway, I shut it off at 9 a.m. Nothing after 9 a.m. But
after 9?
Yeah, I know. I'm boring. Donkey dad.
The donkey
here.
dad. We call him the donkey dad.
Donkey dad over here. Yeah, what a loser. But
hey Jake, I got you this iced coffee from Starbucks. It's 10 o'clock. Sorry, I can't.
Take it and throw in the garbage. What are you doing like nutrition wise? So do you get into that? You're still young, so you probably don't really have to mess around with that too much. But do you watch? Do you have plans? Does Derek advise you on things like that, or what?
Derek doesn't advise just because he's like, I can't control what a college kid's gonna eat.
Right.
Because exactly like you said, we're young, so people are gonna eat what they eat. But me personally, I eat pretty healthy. With like every other week, like one day, like say a Sunday, I'll like have a cheat day and I'll eat kind of unhealthy. But like then for another 2 weeks, I won't have anything unhealthy, or at least I'll try to. As long as I can get some kind of protein and then some kind of like, if I can kind of manage my nutrition to where I'm fueling my body correctly, then it's okay. Usually Derek would kind of try to give like an 80-20 rule, like 80 good, 20 bad. Usually I'm more of like a 90-10.
There you go.
Right, but you're not like a freak, like you don't like track macros or calories or anything like that. Because I was a addictive personality once again.
I was never at that level, man. I was the 80-20, 90-10. Is this a good decision, bad decision? Hopefully only make a few bad decisions a week, if at all, that type of deal.
Yeah.
I used to love squat day because we would go, and whenever I was in college, I would go and I would, after squat day, I'd, feel just like, so good and so powerful. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to Subway and I need a foot long to recover this leg and a foot long to recover this leg. So I would put down 2 foot longs, one meatball sub, foot long meatball, and then one like BMT or something like that.
You were obsessed with Subway, man. You used to get that. That's like the PE teachers just.
And now I never eat it. I never eat Subway anymore.
Yeah, I love Subway. Subway's probably one of my favorite sandwich shops, but
really
I try to stay away from it. Otherwise, I'll just go in and get my turkey bacon like every week.
Yeah, you don't need. I mean, you're a big guy. You need a lot of calories for sure. But I don't think you need a foot long for each leg, to recover each leg. I bet you could probably put down like a massive amount of food though, right?
Yeah, when I absolutely want to. Actually, Sam Kendricks and I talked about food every once in a while, and I like what Sam's mentality is on it. He's like, you have to have a strong stomach if you're going to be in the field of professional athletics and having to travel and all that. I think what was it, 2017 world champs, literally the day before prelims, this man went out and he took us all out to pizza. And then he goes
Sam
in and,
did?
yeah.
That's awesome.
Take us all out to pizza.
But honestly, I think what it is when you go overseas, because I went overseas one time. I went and jumped in Finland, and whenever I was over there, Finnish food is kind of similar to American food. But if you go to like China or like some of these other places that have more exotic food on the menu, you kind of from what I've heard, you kind of have to stick to what you know. And like maybe Sam's onto something there. It's like, hey, like I don't want to mess around with maybe something that I don't really know, but I know my stomach can handle pizza. Even though somebody might not think it's the best thing for me in the world, I know that I'm going to be able to handle it, and I'm probably not going to have any, food poisoning or repercussions, from it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my theory.
Go
ahead.
Back in the day, I used to be like super, like I need a protein, like I need a chicken or a steak or a salmon before meet day. So being a freshman and going into the world championships, I was like, you're feeding me pizza? What in God is wrong with you? And he's like, quit being a baby. I was like, okay, fine.
Quit being a baby. That's awesome.
Have you?
But now I'm a little bit more lax, and I'm like, as long as I eat something, I'm fine.
This is a totally random question, but are you familiar with Jacob Pauly?
Pauly?
Yeah, Pauly.
Yep.
Pauly.
Yeah,
What did Cooper even pronounce it as, Jake? Because that's always kind of been a mystery in our. And we've known him for a while, and I just kind of guess every time.
He's like my favorite pole vault, one of my favorite pole vaulters, and I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
Nilsen, Winder, Winger, whatever. I was curious, have you been to his coffee shop?
I haven't.
Because did you know he has a coffee shop? Maybe you did. I don't know. He has, if I remember right, he has a coffee shop in Cedar Rapids, I think, or outside of Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Really?
And apparently it's really good coffee. And I'd hop on their Instagram. You could probably hop through Coover's and then to Jacob's and then to their coffee shop.
What's the name of his coffee shop? I might have actually.
Let's find out, because I just know because you talked about all the latte art and stuff, like they're throwing some of that stuff down.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
I'm actually, So what do you put on the top of that to make the flour? Is that cream or?
Oh, is this place called Sidecar?
Yes.
Yeah, I have been there.
Okay. Yes.
I didn't know Jacob Pauly ran it.
Maybe he doesn't. Oh my gosh. I think he does though. Either way,
you're totally wrong. He doesn't even know.
No.
Doesn't even know that place.
I'm telling you, man. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he absolutely loves the place, and just posts about it. We're gonna find out in Instagram posts to come, and you could thank the One More Jump podcast for getting you a few more followers. Sidecar coffee,
yeah, right?
But they have a band called the Diplomats that always plays there, and we'll find out. But I was just curious if you've ever been there. I've heard good things about their coffee.
I've been to Sidecar. I don't know if Jacob owns that. That's
probably
awesome.
Not.
Really
Probably not.
We could just say that Jacob's been there. We could just say that, right? I'm assuming. Let's just say that. Switching back really quick to post-collegiate stuff, there's a couple logistical things that I was curious about. So are you planning on training out of South Dakota still?
Yeah, for now.
Okay. All right. You're planning on, and then Derek is obviously going to still coach you?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the plan for now. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then what big meets, like, are there any meets besides the World Championships and Olympics that you are like, man, I really want to jump in that meet?
Yeah. World Championship, Olympics. Yeah, of course. Anything with Diamond League, I'd like to do. I went to the Diamond League final this last year in Zurich. That was so much fun. The track community over there is like one of the strongest things I think I've ever seen. It rivals that of Eugene, Oregon, just because they're so into it. And You put the Diamond League final, which is such a prestigious event, in one of their biggest and best stadiums. It's like, okay, yeah, they care about it. But I guess anything in Diamond League. Other than that, I don't really know what other big meets there are. Maybe like the Grand Prix or something like that. But
so any of the Diamond Leagues, because what Diamond League? Because you competed in the Pre-Classic,
yeah.
and then what other ones did you do? Have you done?
Pre-Classic, I did Paris, which was not really it was a Diamond League meet, but it wasn't scored for points on the men's side. It
Okay.
was more like a women's side thing because, they switch
Right.
genders per meet like every year, and they do like every other. And then Zurich, the Diamond League final.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you think that were you talking about the track community in Zurich in particular is very, very strong?
Yeah, but I think in Europe in general, it's also just really strong.
Yeah,
Wow.
for sure. That's something that people in the United States don't really understand, is that in Europe, track and field is a very, really cool thing, and they have big stadiums and, incredible crowds and unbelievable track meets and support over there, which is really, really cool to see. Okay.
I
What
want
is
to
the Oh,
go
go
for
ahead.
it. No, you can go. That's
I
fine.
was going to ask, what is the greatest advice that you have ever been given?
I was literally just going to ask that same
See,
exact question.
brothers, brother connection.
You guys got like telepathy or something.
Yes, we do.
Um, in in which aspect? In pole vault or life?
Anything, man. It could be from your parents, your grandpa, the guy across the street, whoever.
That's a tough one. I think like one of the first thing that comes to mind, um, it wasn't really like a advice, but like one time my grandma, rest in peace, whatever. She what was it? She was home when I got there because she kind of raised me when my parents were at work. And I came home one day and I was super upset and I was crying. And she's like, "Why are you upset?" And I was like, "I failed a test and I figured you're going to be mad at me and all these other things. I just don't want you to be disappointed in me." And she asked me, she's like, "You're still a good person though? Like, does it matter if you really failed a test if you're still a good person?" And I was
Mm.
like 6-year-old me had no comprehension or anything, or like 7, 8-year-old me. I was like, that doesn't matter. I failed a test. And now I'm like, nothing else matters other than being a good person.
That's
Um,
huge.
That's
I feel
awesome, man.
like when I think of my pole vaulting, I feel like I fell very, very short of what I wanted to accomplish. And I thought to myself, though, the same mentality. Like at the end of the day, regardless of how high I vaulted, am I being a cool dude to be around? Am I helping out? Am I somebody that like
yeah.
people want to engage in conversation with? It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
I think so. I hope so. That's huge, man.
Yeah,
Um,
that is incredible advice right there. That's and the other thing too is, making sure you're a good person, and then like Josh had said is good people end up affecting other people without even you realizing it. So there's people that you can affect just by you being nice, or you doing something, that you think is silly, saying hi to somebody on the sidewalk or whatever. It really does make a huge impact. So just having that focus that your grandma instilled in you to, hey, throw this other stuff out, man. Throw the no height. Height. You do something bad, dude. Give it up, man. It's all about being a good person. So that's
mhm.
some pretty invaluable knowledge right there.
Well,
Shout
with
out to Chris Nilsen's grandma, man. That's what's
yeah,
up.
Yeah.
with I guess we've been going about an hour 15 ish, and we typically like to keep it somewhat within the hour 15, hour and a half mark. And I'm curious, like if you had, you have such a unique kind of upbringing in this sport. And I'm still kind of amazed circling back to like you've been 6, 7 ish years into this and you went from 0 feet in the pole vault to, 595, one of the best vaulters ever to do it. Like what do you want the listeners to to get out of this? If you had to give a few sentences as to like, is it battling through adversity? Is it making sure you are being mechanical instead of emotional? Like, kind of give us your closing summary as to like what you want the listeners to walk away with, if you could.
Oh man. It's so hard to be like, this is what you should do, like mechanically in a meet, or this is what you should, focus on like mentally versus physically. But I think one of the most important things to me is if you can go to a meet and you can be comfortable not only with yourself, but with your competitors. I think I've competed with Luke a couple times, but every single time we've competed together, I've come up and I've said hello. I've tried to make friends with him and make friends with everybody in the competition. And I think that there's no room in not only pole vault, but track and field for bad blood or like rivals. If it's a friendly rivalry, then, it's totally fine. But like anything negative, I think that track and field is already so low on the popularity spectrum of the world because we've got football, basketball, soccer, and all these other things that are so worldwide recognized. The track and field might also be recognized worldwide, but it's not nearly as big or as popular as these other events. But so one of these things that we can kind of try to build popularity in is that all of us are in this together and we're all friendly to each other. The pole vault community right now is probably one of the nicest communities I think I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And that includes communities of pole vault communities like back in the past. Like I'm sure they were close, but I don't think like they were going out to dinner together like we were back in 2017 with the world champs, or at Reno, we all went down and had a drink after the competition this year. Like all of the guys and all the girls, we all went down and just hung out. I don't really know how popular that was, a decade ago, but now I think it's more popular. So I guess just being nice to all your competitors and trying to make friends, because if you, exactly like you just said, this might be the first time we've spoken over text, but now you've invited me over to your spot to come and golf in Chicago.
Yeah, baby.
And now I have a chance to make a new friend and be a part of a new group. And I'm super excited about that. I love that.
Right.
So I think just being nice and inviting people to become a part of your group or become friends with you, I think that's probably more important than any other hype you could probably put up. I think if you're making friends and you're networking and you're building connections, then you will be successful because people want to be around you and people want to help you.
Heck yeah.
It's incredible, man.
We're all in it together, especially through this interesting time, man. I think that sums it up perfectly. There's no place for negativity ever, but especially in a time that's already obviously got a negative connotation around it, man. Very well spoken.
Hey, this is just some advice from an older person. You seem like a really awesome guy.
Thank you.
Going into this post-collegiate thing, don't compromise that. Be what you are right now. And that was something that what I did whenever I left college was I tried to be something that I wasn't and tried to impress people because I wanted to do this or get into this meet or do that. And that's one of the biggest regrets that I have is kind of compromising a little bit of who I was as a person, to, try to be, that. I am so excited to see you go out and just absolutely annihilate it after college, man. I'm so pumped about it. And I just wish you the best of luck, and you're an awesome dude. And, Josh or Chris, you got anything else you want to say, Josh?
I appreciate that a ton. That means the world to me. That really does. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and seriously, reach out too, because I will be here, and if I have to chain myself to the door and get arrested and thrown in jail, I will do it. But I might have to reinforce the back of the box though, because I'm nervous now.
Yeah.
So now I think I'm gonna go and reinforce the back of the box and make sure that if somebody like Chris Nilsen runs down and hits the back of it, that everything's going to be okay. But we're going to get it set up, man. Hey, right. Well, thank you so much. And this is a One More Jump podcast signing off.